Hi, I'm Gail Minogue, and today I was thinking of a subject matter that you don't really hear too much about, and those are people who are in prison, getting out of prison, and the stories that they have about their lives that I've experienced, that I've worked with them, doing their numerology, doing their charts, their lives, etc., and what I've learned, and then I've also learned how we imprison ourselves. We all imprison ourselves either in a job or maybe in a marriage or other conditions that we have self-imprisoned. And I do a lot of sessions with people, and you listen to them, and the more you listen to them, you find that they have imprisoned themselves, particularly if they're working a job where they will be able to retire in, say, 30 years. They'll stay in their sentence for 30 years. So be careful when you look at your life that you don't recognize yourself in a form of imprisonment. So today, I want to speak to you of, I think it's 3 different people who were in prison and their stories and how their lives were impacted going in and going out. It's nothing to do with like 48 hours or a documentary on, this murderer. There's nothing to do with that. These are just conditions where people have come to me with their situation. One of them was a physician in Orange County, successful, and he happened to sell drugs illegally. He'd sit in Starbucks and be the supplier, and until he got caught, and he got a 12-year prison sentence. So prior to going in, he did a session with me, and then once he was in, he did a session with me, and he was sentenced to 12 years. Which is quite a long time, and particularly if you've had a booming medical practice and now you're in prison. And so what we did was we looked at his chart, his issues, because they're there. Everybody has their issues and their karmic corrections. They're right there in his name. And I went over those with him. And then looking at his talents of what he can do in prison to help himself and to other prisoners, which is really going to be you engage with the prison population at an upper level or upper awareness level. And the fact that he even came to me is a fluke, and it showed such an interest in this, it's really great. And you want to try to not judge people, but he made some very poor decisions, and it cost him. And he had to pay the price. I had another person who was a financial guy, and he became too greedy. Talented guy. What can I say? Most of these people are really, really smart, and they just usually do things for the greed. And this person, I was able to work with him coming out of prison, which is always very positive because they have their future outside now, rather than working with them in prison where they're limited with just being able to go up above that time frame that they're in there for. So this person would present himself as he worked out a lot in the gym, but you know better because he actually worked out in prison. He was very buffed, very cordial. You never know that he had been a prisoner, okay, and why he was a prisoner. But he remarked to me that he used to sit on the bed with all the money and gold that he had and just sit in it. So this is like something out of a Bible story, but it's true. And these people still want to know, what's my future? Where am I going with this? What can I do? Because all the talent is there. And he set up a business in Santa Monica. And while he was there, he had his wife and daughter run it while he was in prison so that he could step back into it once he got out. Pretty interesting stuff. And then there was another gentleman who robbed armed robbery in Michigan. And his story is pretty interesting. He had a very good attitude. He developed it in prison, and his roommate in prison, his cellmate, shall I say, was a lifer, and he was a real knowledgeable person in astrology. And he taught my contact, he taught him all about astrology. And my contact ended up doing sessions for the guards and the guards' families and other prisoners. And when he did so well in the prison that they changed his sentence, and he was out in 7 years, which was really amazing. But he had a great attitude of gratefulness. He developed that in there. And when he went before the parole board, he was denied, and he thanked them because he just knew, and he was very gracious. And so what he did in prison was a sense of grace without being religious. He wasn't religious. He just had this sense of grace, and it became possible for him to leave prison early. And when he got out, he became a teacher of astrology, and he was one of my teachers. And he taught astrology, and he did private sessions, and he also wrote a book. It was a great book. And so all these stories of people's lives have been impacted through some kind of hardship. And we all do, but you have to be careful. These guys ended up in prison simply because, well, not simply, because they made a poor decision. And we all are capable of this, maybe not going to prison, but we're all capable of making stupid decisions, not thought through decisions. Okay? And we get to a point where we look back, if we do that and process ourselves, we have really imprisoned ourselves. We have stayed in situations that are stifling. And we just say we have to stay here for the money, or we have to stay here in the marriage because, where am I going to go? And all of that business. And then I had a person who said, well, I make change easily. And I said, really? And she was bragging about that she'd been in this house for 47 years. And when it just didn't jive. I make change easily when she's been in this house for 47 years. What's the possibility of her making change easily? Not much. But anyway, this whole situation of self-imprisonment should really take a good look at your own life and see if you are doing that to yourself. Some people literally sell out. They don't realize they have a right path and then they have a true path. And you always want to get on your true path. Always. And most people just stay on the right path. I'll be a civil service worker and I'm going to stay here for 30 years and that's my right path. It's not my true path at all, and it's not heartfelt, but it pays the bank and the mortgage and it takes care of my car payment, and I have great or decent health insurance. Okay? So what's the price you're paying? And then what are you going to do when you get out of that situation? What are you going to do? What are your hopes, dreams, and wishes for yourself? You have a true path, and you want to get on it, and you want to know you're on it. All right? So kind of keep these things in mind as you're moving through your life. You don't want to imprison yourself. So if you have any questions or you have comments, please give them to me. I will answer you back, and I will look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. If you really wanted to live the best life possible, I would recommend reading about numerology and understanding your blueprint. Also, perhaps get a private session with me, attend Zoom, sign up on my website because it will tell you of the next program that I'm going to do, and I think you would be interested in it. I just did a long one on reincarnation. I'm going to be doing a workshop. So these are available. You want to help yourself and understand as much information as you can, and I would be glad to help you with that or point you in a different direction that I think would help you. Thank you.